succeeded in remaining together since independence demonstrates that we are, in spite of some low-intensity conflict, bound together for our collective sense of being Ghanaian before and above any other considerations. It's as new generations of Ghanaians come and get involved, get engaged in the decision-making process. What are the values that they take along into these decision-making processes? Beyond our traditional hospitality and openness, can we guarantee other forms of behavior which necessarily protect the constitutional dispensation that we have? In other words, how far are we prepared to go to sacrifice our individual interests in protection of the collective interest that sustains democracy and provides us ordered national development? It is that spirit that asks for good governance and asks for quality leadership. We believe the youth must be guided towards these principles. And with me tonight, I have a colossus of the democratic process in Ghana to share his experiences towards monitoring all of us as we try to develop the values, the qualities that will sustain our democratic practice going forward. He's a trained engineer. He's a very successful businessman. He runs several farms. And probably on top of all that, what he's most known for, what he's best known for, what he prides himself in is his politics as a founding and leading member of the New Patriotic Party. Dr. Kwame Amoakotufo, you're welcome to Minority Caucus.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're one of the pioneers
Yes.
of the caucus.
That's right.
Yes, and you haven't been here for quite a while.
That's true. But I'm very glad to be here tonight.
Wonderful.
And to share some ideas with you and the youth of this country. It is very important that we bear the youth in mind and try to model our politics around them, because otherwise they won't learn anything from our experiences, and they will come through as if they are a new breed of people into a democratic process. Okay. But I think the experiences of the past should guide them for their future leadership. So I'm glad you've invited me to come and talk on
in your youth, the agitation was more proactive, more, should I say, for want of a better word, more activist. It was indeed more dangerous to your interests because you had to fight authoritarian regimes, tyrannical regimes, which you are not afraid to use force.
Yes.
And in those days, in the 70s, in the 60s, late 70s, early 80s, when you and Nanado were the youthful ones.
That's right.
What was it like then? What was happening?
It was tough. First of all, I was in my early 30s when I really got onto the horse and started running with it. At that time, Ghana had few coups d'etats. There was a lot of instability and indiscipline in our system. Okay. And I felt my contribution as a young man was to, first of all, get a group together of interested people for democracy. And then our objective that we set out was what is within our constitution that young people can come together and work together to protect, because the constitution is the rule, is a collection of the rules for our operation as a country. If we want to have peace, we have to be law-abiding and all. So I set up the National Progressive Union. It was a nationwide pressure group at that time.
The National Progressive Union?
Yes, NPU. And we had membership all over. The whole idea is that if the government of the day is trying to use its powers to attack people, individuals, to fight against their rights and all that, then we have to come in and make the right noises
Okay.
to protect those individuals, to protect the institutions that bind us together, so that as a country we can move forward democratically and also make sure that the system is stable. So through this, our objectives was to protect the judiciary.
Okay.
The government of the day cannot attack judges. We shouldn't allow judges to be, treated badly, because that is part of the whole governance of this country.
Yeah, the protection against everybody else.
Exactly.
Government, everybody else.
Exactly. Now, and then also the civil service, various sections of the civil, the accountant general, the auditor general, all these kinds of institutions have to be protected. In other words, when their rights are being trampled upon, there must be a voice outside. When somebody is a civil servant, he just sits there and he's being sacked for nothing he has done but for a political reason. Youth should come out nicely. At times you must die a little for your people and for your country. And that is the spirit with which we established MPU.
The National Progressive Union.
Yes.
Is that the same union that you took to court in the Tufor Attorney General case?
Yes, sir. At that time, the government of the time wanted to sack the Chief Justice. Now,
this is the 1979 or the
80,
1981 government
80,
of
yes, Liman's
Hilary
government.
Mann.
Yes,
President Hilary Mann.
exactly. They wanted to remove the then Chief Justice. And I realized that if they succeeded in doing that, then the precedence is set. Any new government that comes and doesn't want this Chief Justice, they will sack him or her so that they can put the right people they want there, their supporters, and then they will bend the laws. When a case is in court, the Chief Justice will have to assemble favorites of the government.
Yes.
And then, it will be a lawless country. You come in and it's a fait accompli. The government wants this thing done, it gets done. So I stood up, had a press conference, and I was insulted badly. In the press, radio, the propagandists around Liman at the time.
And you were not afraid?
I was not afraid.
You didn't know Apalu?
No, I didn't know him
never
from
met Apalu?
Adam. I didn't know him at all. Just the principle that you cannot touch a Chief Justice. You cannot touch the judiciary. You must respect them, because that is really what is guiding us as a nation.
And then you were a lecturer?
I was a lecturer. I was in my early 30s, and I had a lot of tough time with my colleagues at KNUST. I'm an engineer originally.
And you were prepared to risk all that, your lecturership, your reputation, your friends, to stand up for the Chief Justice you didn't know, hadn't met.
Exactly. Exactly. In fact, even my restaurant bar was burnt down.
What? Really?
At Kumasi, yes. Just to frighten me, and then I had deadly phone calls warning me that, young man, you come from America, if you want to do your business, do. If you want to lecture, lecture. If you want to come into politics, we'll attack you. I called off the bluff, had my second press conference, and warned the president that if he dared to attack, meanwhile they had compromised the Chief Justice at the time to go to Parliament and all that, some kind of strategy to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So I discussed this with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. You see, when I mention his name, I mention with pride, because at that time he was a young man who was prepared to die for his country.
Okay.
So he was my lawyer. We sat down, he discussed the thing, he got other people together. And then the case of Tufor versus Attorney General started. Joe Randolph was the Attorney General at that time.
a seasoned,
a very seasoned,
and the youthful Nanado assembled a team of lawyers.
You should
went up
see
to him.
Nanado in court. You know, when he is being seen as a successful politician, you must see him in his elements in court. I was scared that I was going to lose because the kind of backlash I was going to get, people were going to laugh at me. You know, what does this guy want? You know, but what I wanted was to be fair to the individual in this country, to be fair to the judiciary. We want to make sure that the laws of this land work. The Constitution is well protected. So the case came on.
So that's lesson number one, the tenacity, the self-sacrifice, the willingness to protect this country at all costs. This is a man, an Ashanti, who didn't know the Chief Justice, who was being sacked by a president who was from North, and he got himself a lawyer who was from the Eastern region, brought together a team of lawyers from across the country, including Sami Okujeto, Chachukikata, Fuichikata from the Volta region, and they succeeded in protecting our Constitution and the independence of the judiciary. Tonight, we are looking at the examples, and these are valuable examples. I have the privilege of interviewing Dr. Kwame Amoako-Tuffuor, engineer, businessman, farmer, above all, political activist, veteran of political struggles this country has witnessed. What he's telling us is that it is worth sacrificing for Ghana. The question for the youth, though, having benefited from some of the development, some of the progress we've had since independence, are we developing an entitlement mentality, or are we ready to contribute to grow what has nurtured us so far? Let us go back to Amoako-Tuffuor and let him continue to guide us. Doc.
Yes, sir.
You were involved with a nationalist program, a school feeding program. I think probably that's what you are best known for.
That's right.
Today you are telling us about the National Progressive Union, which you do, but you're best known for the school feeding program.
Right.
What went into that program? What was behind it? I mean, it hasn't been free of controversy, but I'm sure you can enlighten us about what it means.
You see, if you're thinking about your people all the time, the youth, I'd like to appeal to you. Think far and wide. From Apalu's case, which was a judicial case, my next concern was about the poor school children, hungry children. I've been hungry before. Each time I mention that, I feel like crying, because I've been very, very hungry before as a child. My mother was a trader, and each time she traveled, I was in trouble. But growing up, you see a lot of very poor families with their children. They don't have anything to eat. Now, if you want to grow useful citizens, they must be healthy. If children get food, if they eat nutritional food, they grow up healthy. And then, of course, the country is lucky. Now, school feeding is a must. A child has a right to food. It is his right. A child is a citizen of this country. He's not sharing in your posts, in your various activities, but he has a right to share in the income of this country. Now, even America, June 4th, 1946, George Truman, the president, established school feeding for US of A.
Yeah?
Yes. It is still on. May still have his own problems, but they guard it seriously. Even in countries that people have resources to live, and they live above a certain level. So here, I got motivated. I was in America. I had been invited by the US government on a program by the State Department, you know, where they take people who have made some impact in their countries, and then they try to expose them to other kinds of things. They set a program up. One of the last program was for me to have lunch at Columbia University with a professor who is now a special advisor to the UN Secretary General. And when I got there, this guy started lecturing me about food for children. And he kept saying things I had said in a paper before. At the end of the lecture, he pulled out a paper, which was my paper. I don't know how it got to him, but I had been writing to make sure that we can feed our children. The country should be able to feed its people. It's like a father in a house. You should be able to arrange to have your children fed. But you see, in this case, it's abject poverty. So the whole idea was to come up with a program to feed school children, produce healthy children. They go to school because there's food. So you are educating your little ones to grow up educated to run a country for you. It's very important. So I approached President Kufuor, explained to him the necessity to introduce this here. He asked me to write a paper. I wrote a paper talking about why it is right for the children to have food. Secondly, why it is sustainable. 3, why that program was economically sound.
That for us is very important.
Yes.
How do you determine that it's economically sound? Because you're going to feed school children.
Good.
You have to find money to buy food for them to
Exactly.
eat.
When the government says, we have opened up, we are feeding these schools in these villages, there are local foods that nutritionists have been used to identify are nutritional. Now, the farmers in that location, in the village, will produce lots of the inputs that are required for the school feeding, for the menu. Now, so the poor farmer who would have post-harvest losses and all that now has a market. You've created a market for him. As the schools expand, the number of children to be fed are expanding. Then you'll have more farmers or more people going into farming, because as soon as they produce, they have cooks who will buy the produce to feed the children. You are fighting grassroots poverty. You are creating wealth at the lowest level of the economy.
At the level of the farmers.
At the level of the farmers. It's also going to encourage a lot of young people to also go into farming, because the various ingredients for the food per week creates the kind of market that is an incentive for a lot of people to go in. I mean, of all these education that God encouraged me to have, I'm a farmer. So I can't see why a young man who doesn't have a job cannot think about how lucrative it is. In other words, you'll be creating a lot of opportunities for the young people to get into farming. Because as soon as they harvest, they have schools they can sell these things to. That's number 1. Then I moved to level 2, and that is, it also stimulates industrial growth. Why? Food industries. You go to the north, then you have, say, a factory that produces oil, vegetable oil from soybeans. Because of sheer numbers of children going to school, the oil they need will be a lot. So you have to expand the base for production of soybeans. So farmers there will have a field day producing The industrialist buys them. You arrange with the bankers so that they can finance. So the farmers get their ready cash for producing the raw material.
Yeah.
The industrialist produces vegetable oil and other feed, you know, for poultry and all that.
Yeah.
But it's the vegetable oil that I'm interested in. Then it is a very good vegetable oil. The nutrients, the protein is good, first class. Now, the cooks are given money by the government to buy compulsory the vegetable oil. So there is market for that industrialist who is producing the oil.
Yeah.
Now, he will also pay tax.
Okay.
The tax comes to the government.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, the child is also getting nutritional food. Okay? So it's a cycle.
The industrialists also employ more people.
Employ more people.
And then the cooks will buy other inputs.
Farmers increase. Young people can get in and say, I'm going to soya beans because when I produce, it will be milled. More industries in producing bean oil, soy oil, will spring. Lots of jobs. Lot of stimulation of the economy. And that is not all. Rice, local rice,
Yes.
well milled, is a first class product for school children. Same advantages as I've been mentioning for the vegetable oil.
Yes.
Tomatoes. Now you must ask me one or two questions about the tomatoes. Do you have time?
I'll have time. This is very interesting. We have the privilege of Dr. Kwame Amoako for trying to model a guideline for youthful Ghanaians coming up who are interested in helping to develop this country on a sustainable basis, create opportunities and aspirations for others. Now, I want to ask you, Doc, about, delineating more clearly some of the principles, some of the values you want the youth to have. But just to wrap up on school feeding, it wasn't without controversy. There was something about rotten tomatoes. Which you
now, some people who wanted to gain politically, and that is a very important area for the young people. You don't support press or individuals who are contracted to create political headaches and conflicts and clashes.
Okay.
That doesn't help with stability. Now, tomatoes, it just happened that I decided that, look, it is very important to cut off the importation of canned tomatoes into this country, just like rice. If we produce it on a massive scale for school feeding, you are cutting off imported rice. The forex can be used for other important things. Same with vegetable oil. Okay. Now, the tomato thing, I asked around for local industry that produces tomato. Now, this one that we got to do it did not do the chemistry very well. I mean, it was probably not with too many years of experience, but you run into that. And some heat spoiled some of the tomatoes. Now, so when the cooks opened them, then they reported, and we told them to put all the rotten tomatoes together so that the factory will pay back to them. Oh, there were a lot of attacks. I was feeding children with rotten tomatoes. First of all, I'm not a cook. I don't go to the kitchens to produce for the children.
You're used to attack.
I'm used to attack. But it was a reasonable attack because what it meant at that time was that if anybody will serve rotten tomatoes, then it's the cooks, the women who cook. But no woman will open a tomato when it's rotting and pour it to serve children. It's wrong. It's a wrong attack on women.
They wouldn't do that.
They would never do that. Okay, so what in inference is this? I want the young people to be able to be critical.
Okay.
In areas like this, where the press, now people sit on TV and radios, propaganda, fighting back and forth, and then you also get some people who fund it. This is something that we have to fight to discourage in this country because it brings bad blood. It creates disunity amongst us, and it destroys the kind of friendship and brotherliness that should, when all that you hear is somebody attacking another person to get political gains and all that. It is absolutely. Let's talk about issues. The young people should look for the issues. Therefore, the kind of leadership you should be looking for is someone who deals with issues and vision that can help the future of this country. Someone with proven abilities for democracy, who has sacrificed for this country and therefore has the experience to lead this country. It's not just running a country. You must have some serious nationalistic feeling for the country and for the people. So the leader that the young people must always be looking at, because these people become floating voters. They are new in the system, generally. They may not belong to here or there. They can choose their parties. But for the benefit of the country, they must look for a leader with proven abilities, sacrifice, who is not corrupt. Okay? And if they hear something like Wyoming, for instance, I'm not trying to be controversial here. It is national money. Okay. Therefore, everybody, whether NDC or PFP or NPP or CP, should rally together to demand the money.
Okay.
Okay? So if it is in court, fine. But your eyes and ears must be glued to that money, which is yours for your development. Okay? Regardless of the political linkage. As soon as we start thinking like that, we start dealing things like that, then we are becoming more concerned about our country. Take my son, Samuel Uku. He recently had an engagement. At the engagement, I saw him invite NDC friends, MPP, FONCA, CPP, and all that. I took notice. This is how our politics should be. We must be friends and brothers above all. Before the hatred that is coming, creeping up, the youth should fight it. They should not support.
But how can the youth get above the attacks? Some youth want to come out, but are sincerely afraid of the attacks. As soon as you come out...
Grown-ups too. Grown-ups that will come to give you advice, political advice for our growth. They are afraid. Because somebody is going to attack him, a calling will come and insult him for now. The interviewer will fan it. There are a few of them that I respect very much, who don't encourage the fight. They want to look at issues. We must be able to come on other radio stations, in the press, in our writings, to tell Mr. A, Mr. B, your attitude is wrong.
It takes courage.
Yes, but they must. That is why I talk about their collective nature.
That's right.
See, I came through differently.
Yes.
I was raised in Ashtown, in Kumasi. You know, you have to be tough to be there.
CPP.
All the works.
NLM.
I've seen people being killed in front of me, you know, and you grow up. Yeah. You see that. It toughens you. But if you are not tough, get into groups that think alike. How do you protect yourselves? How do we create peace? How do we cut off these? And then collectively, you can protest, you can write, you can call in, you can attack, you can go and see them. There are so many different ways you can approach it.
It's not an option not to be involved.
Exactly. You cannot see a country progress to help you and your future when you don't get involved. If you don't get involved with pardon for language, fools will then rule you, will run your life for you. Everybody, you've gone to school a little bit, you haven't gone to school, you have brains. You can develop your political savvy, get into groups that think about Ghana and Ghanaians. What is good for our people? Why should we do this? Why should we create the linkages? People see politics as the end. No. It's just a process. It's a game. But the Ghanaian is who we should look at. How do we protect him? How do we work together to save our country? How do we develop together? Okay? Rather than few individuals developing and gaining. The sense of sacrifice is extremely important. If you are not prepared to sacrifice right now, God has been so good to me in everything that I do. I have to pay back. You don't go and pay back by writing check to God. No. His children. I have a foundation for sick children, for poor children. We don't go and show off. We go to hospital, we find out who can pay hospital bills. We quietly pay. We walk off. Easter, we may send food to destitute homes and all that. I encourage a lot of people to get involved in that. Those who are less privileged, we must help. We must work with. That is what I mean, payback. We look at God, he does all these things to us, and then we, oh, thank you, Father, we are very grateful. And what are you doing for the less privileged? You think they are here for nothing? Okay, so that spirit of nationalism, thinking about the country, avoiding conflict areas, discouraging people who fan conflicts and fights. Let the press and the political debates we have cut off, reduce the insults and cut it off. People should be able to pressure newspaper houses and radio and TV stations. They should be able to do it. It's easy. Very easy. You can even go and protest that we don't want this program this way. Okay? And it will influence their thinking that don't bring you, me, together because we have to lie. You know, lots of them will lie to convince you that my party is better or my leader is better. What it actually means, because if that is a propaganda and a lie, you are deceiving the Ghanaian to choose the wrong leader to run the country for all of us. It's wrong.
I'll run into a ditch.
Absolutely.
About 2 weeks now, Dr. Bawumia has delivered a lecture. The MPP believes and prides itself that that lecture is going to set the tone for a factual debate on the economy, and that the centerpiece of our problems now is the Ghanaian economy. He's come under attack, very personal, and some of it very petty. And hardly those who are putting him under attack have been able to deal with the issues he's raised. How do you feel? What do you think?
I feel very sad because I have been under similar attacks before. When somebody speaks, the first thing is not to attack him because he belongs to this party or that. He's talking about the economy of this country, the kinds of things that can help us. Let's sit down, look at it critically. Is this thing good? That thing is good. I don't understand. Dr. Bawumia, explain here. That is the spirit I'm talking about. Okay. Not just getting up and attacking him and attacking his person. It is wrong. That is the wrong attitude. We won't go anywhere with those attitudes. We better kill them fast. And the young people that are coming, watch it and make sure that anybody who is farming this kind of thing, you cut it off. Because look at Bawumia. He's well-read, experienced. He comes with a formula. It's like me and the attacks on school feeding. I say things that are not being done right. I'm not attacking NDC government per se. But then they happen to be there and the thing is getting bad. Yeah. Cooks are not being paid. Yes. If I say it and you want to know how they can be paid, call me quietly. I'm a citizen. Let's discuss. But to leave it like that, a cook is not a financier. A cook has to get the money from the government and go and buy food. We get cases all over the place. Women are being beaten. Some have been taken to police station and locked for 3 days.
Because they haven't paid.
They haven't paid the suppliers.
Because the government hasn't paid them.
Exactly. 65 days and you pay 35 for last term. This term, unpaid. How do the children get quality food? If I'm not being paid and I don't have money, I cook some yama food for them, okay? Or I don't cook certain days.
Unfortunately, the government of Ghana doesn't pay its bills. For the first time ever, contractors were on strike demanding their monies because government is impoverishing them. The little profits they will make, they borrow from the bank, and the longer they are not being paid, the more the money goes to service the bank loans, and the banks bankrupt them. So the government of Ghana should simply pay its bills. It takes courage to sacrifice yourself in the interest of your nation. Join us on 0302 211 701 up to 704. 0302 211 701 or 702 703 704. You can join us on the phone lines. Hello, Latif. Latif. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I have your boss here with me.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Inusa speaking from Bolga.
Okay.
Even though I came in late to watch the program, it's good. You see, these are the people that we want. People with big knowledge, ideas that will share to the whole nation. And many people will benefit, including it either being you are in opposition or you are in government, you benefit. Being MPP or NDC, you benefit. These are the people that we want in the system, not the people that will come and sit. They will cry for people that they should give them the chance to rule this nation, but they will put it in their hand and they will put it in the wrong direction. These states, we need people that will come and lead us and let people know that, yes, we have different people that will come with big ideas, that they will put it down, and people will come later and see that, yes, these are the things that people have left for us, so we have to continue with it. But not people that will come with good ideas to this nation, and people will come rather to spoil it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sovo?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good evening to you and good evening to your panelists. He has done a good job this evening, and I'm very much excited. And I am sure most of us, as the younger generation, will have to emanate people like this for the political future of our country. However, commenting on Dr. Dalmia and his lecture for the past weeks, some of us, in our own way, were having some difficulties trying to understand if exactly he was actually presenting to us the real state of the economy. Because during the lecture, in his presentation, it all looked directly a response or a rebuttal to the Green Book that the NDC has just presented to Ghanaians. And we also realized, some of us also realized that Baumia was actually seeing nothing wrong and exactly nothing wrong with the economy. Because if about 95% of our gold reserves are being managed by foreigners, our high business speed by foreigners, in the hands of foreigners, that is causing unemployment in Ghana. And you also realize our oil in the hands of the foreigners. In fact, these are some of the issues some of us wish Baumia should have really addressed, but not in a response or a rebuttal to the so-called achievement touted by the NDC government in their Green Book.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's take Kingsley from Pokuase. Kingsley?
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Good evening.
Okay. I would first want to say that it's important to have debates on issues, not on personalities.
Okay.
I think that as a youth, I am a youth. As a youth, I think that we've come to the time where we need to look at issues that affect every single Ghanaian. And it's important that on that note, Dr. Baumia made that presentation, and I thought that what people should be doing was to investigate the issues that he put forward. And if you think that there are certain things that he put forward and are not right, then you need to correct it. Let me on that note, get into the school feeding program thing that he's talking about. You see, I believe that in order to develop the common good, you need to build the capacity of the individual.
Okay.
You need to look at the development of every single individual in this country. And that's what the NPP stands for. You need to build the capacity of the farmer that is in Bole or is in Sefiu or so, or is in the Volta region. You need to build the capacity. You need to create the opportunity and the room for the farmer to be able to produce and have the market to sell that produce. That is the way I should build that person's capacity, and therefore you are able to build the capacity of the common good. There are no these social interventions about handouts that people have to give this to this, give that to that. It doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
So I think that it's important that we look at building capacities of the individuals, which the NPP stands for, and let's debate the issue. I'm putting this forward. Let's debate the issues even when they are attacking personalities. Let's go ahead and debate the issue, and Ghanaians will vote on the issues.
Thank you very much. Let's take Masaudu. Masaudu, Techiman. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
I'm Masaudu calling from Techiman.
That's right, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity given. I was very happy to say something about NDC. You see, the NDC, the manifesto that Atamesh has brought, 2009, 2008. NDC manifesto, all the manifesto Atamesh has failed. And I'm grateful and I'm happy for Ghanaians that they should vote Akufo-Addo. And when Akufo-Addo come to power, and the HS free, Akufo-Addo will make it. And you see, the MPP.
Oh, Masaud, it's unfortunate I have lost you. Doc.
Yes, sir.
You know, this very interesting question about assuming ownership of our resources. And it goes straight to what Nanado is saying about transforming the economy, moving from the Gajesburg primary exporting commodity to a localized economy. And then Kingsley from Pokwasi then goes on to say that to be able to do that, you have to develop capacity, free education.
Yes.
So MPP is on track.
Absolutely.
I want to feel comfortable that we are on track.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then that spirit, while we are developing it, you must allow individuals to excel and learn from them. Now, you know, you have Ghanaians who use soybeans, corn to produce biodiesel to run their cars. Now, Professor Frimpong Boateng, for instance, he should be made to teach young people how to do these things. He has biogas in his house. He doesn't buy gas to cook. Now, how does he do it? You must praise these people, bring them to the top, and let them influence the young people that are coming. In other words, if we are in oil, let's genuinely train our people in management, in the technical aspects and all that, so that we can control our destiny. 2 days ago, I was listening to a BBC, and a top economist was saying that what is happening to the world is that the so-called developed countries are coming down because of the economic disorder. Okay. But what is happening to the so-called underdeveloped countries is that they are moving too fast because they have natural resources like oil that are coming up and all that. The problem is, how do we genuinely manage them? Who are going to monitor them? It's all part of the spirit that I'm trying to talk about.
Don't we consume each other at the management level, where proficient technicians are sacrificed for political gain? And that sometimes frightens the youth who are coming up, because if you're going to go into politics, exploit your talent for the benefit of your nation, and then at the right time when you have the knowledge that you can transfer it, you're consumed by the political process.
That is where the youth comes in. If they were going, if a president was going to sack a chief justice, he's an Ewe, I'm an Ashanti. I have the right to defend my Ewe brother. It has nothing to do with tribalism. It has everything to do with nationalism. So the young people who are strong and can see this, they should put pressure on the government. You can't just sack any civil servant who is good for political gains. No.
It has
you can't develop like
everything to do with nationalism. You can't just go in there and do what you like. The youth must demand of our leadership the right things, and that is what will protect that leadership to even better guide the youth. Tonight we had some very productive phone calls as well, focused on the nationalist, the progressive nationalist ethos, where we look at the issues, we debate the issues, and we pick the best of the issues and move our country forward rather than shooting the messenger. Indeed, one of our colleagues said, even where the messenger is being shot, we must preserve the message in order to carry it forward and help build our nation.